Good afternoon, Anne Arundel County. Good afternoon, America. Welcome to Promoting Community, Conversation, and Discovery. I'm your host, Anthony Bynum. The name of our production company is Glen, Burnie Players. These are exciting times here in Anne Arundel County. Exciting times. And we're going to share some of that with you today. In fact, we've been getting a little rain the last day or so. I think that's so important. In fact, let's just break it down. Every living entity, creature, species, etc., on this earth needs water to survive. So I'm so happy we're getting a little bit here. I'm so happy about that. Yes, these are exciting times here in Anne Arundel County. Let's start off by talking about upcoming events. Tonight, 7:30, the Glen Burnie Concert Series is hosted by the Glen Burnie Improvement Association. Tonight is Kaleidoscope. I think I might have seen them last year. I'm not exactly sure, but I'm definitely going to see them tonight down there at Glen Burnie Center. Not to be outdone, the Lithicum concerts in the park. Now, these are sponsored by the Women's Club of Lithicum. I was there last week. I just happened to be riding my bike, and I think I was riding around 6 o'clock, I guess, and they were playing. It was a big band, lots of brass, and I'm not quite sure the name of the band that played last week, but they're Sunday nights, about 5 or 6 o'clock, and this week it's Pet Rock. Might have seen him last year too, but it's good to go check them out. So those are some opportunities for us music lovers, which I think most of us are. I also want to do a shout out to our affiliates. So let's start off with Anne Arundel Cable Access TV. Thank you for running our show. Greenbelt Cable Access out of PG County. Thank you for running our show. Amherst Media out of Amherst, Massachusetts. Thank you for running our show. Manhattan Neighborhood Network. That's the 5 boroughs of New York. New York, the place that's so nice they named it twice. Thank you for running our show. I also want to give credit where credit is due. The show could not be done without the material, fine research by Wikipedia. We also want to thank Google Images. We want to thank MarylandCarnivals.com and Parade.com. We also have a special shout out to our underwriter. That is the Cleaning Chef. More information is available about them and the credits. So we always want to start off with our most admired segment. So let's go to the share and find that. There's right there. And go right here, push that button. Very good. Yes, the great Milton Berle. Now, for many of us, his golden years were before our time. But through this little report, you'll see how influential he still is in the industry. He still is in the industry because he understood things so quickly. He truly was the first great American TV star, American star. Well, let's just say TV star, because there were some others. So Milton Berle was actually born Mendel Berlinger. That's Yiddish. He was born in, now this says Harlem, Manhattan. I didn't know there was a Harlem, Manhattan. I knew of a Harlem, New York. So I might have to ask my buddy Mike a little more clarification of that. Maybe back in those days it was considered Manhattan. I don't know. I wasn't there. I don't know. But he was born July 12th, 1908. He died 3/27/2002. So he lived a long time. He was in the business for 8 years. He was on stage. He was a child actor. He worked radio. He worked movies. He worked television. So he understood the whole point of promotion. Because he worked all the media. If social media was around in his day, he'd be on YouTube too. I mean, that's how prolific this guy was. Now, he was born, like I noted, in Harlem. It says here a 5-story walk-up. So, very middle class, working class family. His father was a paint and varnish salesman. He had 3 older brothers, Phil, Frank, and Jack. 2 of his brothers, Frank and Jack, were on his staff as he became more popular. He needed staff. His brother Phil actually was an NBC programming executive. Now, at the age of 13, he won a, I'm sorry, let's start. I think he started before then. He was a child, here it is. In 1913, not the age of 13, 1913, which he's only 5 years old, he won a children's Charlie Chaplin contest. Sorry about that. That was an ant. I don't know where he came from. Charlie Chaplin contest. At the age of 8, which is 1916, he enrolled in the professional children's school. So this guy knew what he wanted to do in the beginning. And I got nothing but respect for that. You know, he knew right away, hey, this was for me. Early on, he did vaudeville. He helped to create his an on-stage comedian act, which he never really left. He never really left it. He understood the importance of just making people feel good through the power of jokes. I mean, it's very powerful. The guy did Broadway. Now, in 1933, this might have been a turning point. He's working, right? But 1933, he's hired by a producer with some means named Jack White. And he starred in now I'm not sure if this was a musical. Well, obviously it was a musical. I don't know if this was a movie or just Broadway, but it was called Pop in the Court. Milton Berle actually co-wrote the score, so it tells me he was a musician too. He dabbled one way or the other. Now, I don't know what instrument he played. It might have been piano. It seems like everybody played piano in those days, right? Radio. So radio starts in earnest for him in 1934. For 3 years, 34, 35, 36, he was in the Rudy Valley Hour. Rudy Valley obviously was someone of very great prominence at those times. And this is where I want to talk a little bit about what he discovered, the importance of sponsorship. The show apparently was first sponsored by Gillette, the people who make the razor blades. I think at some point in time, Buick may have taken that over, I'm not sure. But he worked with Gillette, he worked with Buick, he worked with Campbell's Soup, he worked with Texaco. So if he's working with these people, he's meeting these executives, and they have to like him. Because if the executives in those days did not like you, they did not sponsor you. It was just that simple. It was just that simple. And I want to bring up another point. We here in America got it right when it came to early media, whether it was television, whether it was radio. Give the product away for free. Have sponsors pay. Sponsors can sell their products to the audience. It's a perfect model. It's the perfect model. And we discovered it right here in America. We discovered it right here in America. All right, let's continue here. So he first appears in television in the early days. Remember I said he was the first American TV star? So television starts in earnest after World War II. But television was actually around before World War II. In fact, he was on an experimental broadcast in 1929 in front of 129 people in Chicago. Now, obviously, there was a lot to be done to make television work, a lot to be done. And more than likely, the brightest minds probably pulled away for the war effort, but they got on it right after the war was over. America needed television. After World War II, we needed television. So let's continue. Now, not everything worked out perfectly for Milton Berle in his life. There was a snafu, a business snafu. He had a couple of them, a couple of different snafus. One of them was a business snafu because, see, he was offered a 25% stake in a new company. This company was called Teleprompter Corp. And in order to get the 25%, he had to do away with the cue cards. Now, first thought was, wow, teleprompter. I mean, that's how it's done. They became the norm, the industry norm. However, I think I can understand why Milton Berle was not in a rush to do away with the cue cards. He probably saw cue cards as a way of improvisation, meaning that he saw a cue card, he knew the joke, but then he decided that maybe by reading the audience, and every great musician, every great comedian reads their audience, to change things just enough to keep it funny, So he didn't get any money on that deal. There were other snafus too. I read somewhere where, he was kind of a control guy, right? No, his star started to fade somewhat in the late 50s, from what I understand from the reading. He was still around for many, many years after that, many, many years after that, but never as big, never as big. And part of it may have been control issues. Now he did some television later on in life. In fact, the article that I'm referring to is when he did Saturday Night Live, and that the dark side of Milton, the control Milton, came out, and it was not a good week at Saturday Night Live. They were not happy with him there. he it was like being lectured every time he turned around. But he did some other TV. I'm gonna have to look up the episode of Batman they did. He was Louis the Lilac. I need to check that one out. I think I vaguely remember that, so I'm probably gonna YouTube that one myself tonight. Let's see here. What else we want to talk about? Well, there is something we want to talk about. Now, there was a point where he would do drag, and I find no humor in men dressing like women for laughs. It does nothing for me. In fact, it's kind of like blackface. I don't find any humor in it. However, because it's the great Milton Berle, I will give him a pass. Yes, yes, yes. I will give him a pass. There was some other stuff that I remember about Milton Berle. There were two things I'm going to refer to. One of them was when he did the Muppet Show. The Muppet Show was like 76, 77, 78. And there's these two Muppets who were hecklers. They heckled everybody. They always had jokes. And Milton Berle could play the straight guy when he needed to. And he does in this episode, this scene there. And they're all over him. They're all over Milton. He just took it because it was so funny. He's so funny. And then I saw another skit on Facebook or YouTube, where this time Henny Youngman is heckling Milton, and Milton's giving it back. So old material, rehash it, change it up, make it new again. Right? That's the mark of the greats. That's the mark of the greats. There was one other scene though. I remember this is one of the Bob Hope specials. Milton is the makeup man. He's working on Bob Hope, and Bob Hope says, "You're taking a lot of time, man. What's taking so long?" And Milton just says, tongue in cheek, he says, "You ever try working on stucco?" Even now, that's funny. Again, just probably an ad lib. Probably an ad lib. Now, on some other notes, though, he was a founding father of the Friars Club of Beverly Hills. This is when the guys all get together to roast their buddies. Those things have been on TV for years. They still do them one way or the other. They still do them one way or the other. Also, though, he participated, I don't know if he hosted it, in the first charity, television charity. So way before Jerry Lewis was doing the muscular dystrophy charity. I'm not even sure that's still going on. I think I'm pretty sure Jerry Lewis left us a couple years ago. He did it with was called the Damon Runyon Cancer Research. I don't know if those people are still around, but 1949 they were, and they had Milton Berle. So, for all those reasons, this week, most admired, we're gonna go with the great Milton. The great Milton Berle. He's a funny cat, man. He's a funny cat. So we want to now talk about something of consequence regarding Anne Arundel County. So let's go ahead and go to that. There we go. The Jolly Shows. Now, I'm actually going to read this right from their website. I've known about these people for a long time, for years and years and years. They provided the rides for the Glen Burnie Carnival, but they do others also. You can look at the site, and you can see the next coming event they have is with Early Heights Fire Department. So you see these small carnivals. You see them from time to time in Anne Arundel County, and they're the people. That's where you go. That's where you go. So let's read a little bit about it. Let's see here. I think I see on the page. Yeah, here we go. How it all began. Like so many young men during the Great Depression, Frank Joseph had many doubts about the future. After all, he had two young children and didn't really have a vocation. Since his mid-teens, though, he worked very hard at many things and was always able to manage to save a little money. He dreamed of someday being in business for himself. A nightclub business was his first thought. He liked the idea of a place where people could go, laugh, have some fun, and forget about the troubles. He was quickly discouraged from this venture, though, by his wife, Anne. She reminded him of how low his tolerance was for drunks. So that was probably a good idea. He was not a drinker, so that was probably a good idea that she stood up and said, "No, no, honey, you got to go in a different direction." The idea of a business that made people happy, though, never left his thoughts. While visiting a fireman's carnival with his children in 1939, okay, 1939, Frank saw what he thought might be a new business for him. He counted the number of people in line at the roller plane. And visiting the carnival again each of the next 3 nights, he paid even closer attention to the operation of the amusement rides. He was now sure that this is where he wanted to invest his savings. So there's different ways of studying. We think normally about hitting the books at school, but there's observational study too. And that's what he did. He just observed. He saw people. I didn't read this before. I read it now, though. It said that he watched as the thrilled riders exited the ride and got right back in line again. So there it is. There it is. He said he figured it out very, very quickly. Frank bought his first amusement ride, an Everly aircraft rollerplane in 1939. A few years later came the Octopus and the Spitfire. Now, Spitfire makes sense because if the Spitfire obviously was named after the I would think the English Spitfire planes that were so important during World War II in the Battle of Britain. So it just makes sense, right? 1939, 1940, 41 just makes sense, right? He operated these rides seasonally at local amusement parks, church bazaars, firemen's carnivals, and country fairs throughout the late 1940s. So it's interesting, when you go to a carnival, this just tells you that perhaps not one operator owns everything. It says maybe it's somewhat shared, maybe it's somewhat shared. So, I mean, there's more to read here, but this is the story, right? This is the story of Jolly Show's tour. If you may recall, a while back, maybe 12 months, one of the early episodes, maybe episode 4 or 5, at that time it was called Don't Get Fooled Again. Now, of course, it's called Community Conversation and Discovery. But I highlighted the Glen Burnie Carnival, except that year, it wasn't the Glen Burnie Carnival. That year, it was the Jolly Show's Carnival because they took over the whole operation. So that's something of consequence regarding Anne Arundel County. It's a good operation. I mean, they've been in business for a long time, and it looks like it's still a private company, not publicly traded. So that's how you keep it in the family, right? That's how you do it. So we're going to stop the share at this point. And one last thing to do. So our theme is fun. I'm talking about Milton Berle. He knew how to do what? Have fun. He knew how to make people have fun. Jolly Shows, again, having fun. So I wanted to read a poem that was fun. Nothing heavy, something light. It's fun. This is called Missing. It's written by Ann Scott. I've already noted that this week we relied on parade.com for this poem material. I've hunted near, I've hunted far, I've even looked inside my car. I've lost my glasses, I'm in need to have them now so I can read. I loudly swear and I curse. Did she leave them in her purse? Are they behind the sofa, under the bed? Oh, there they are, on my head. Glasses, right? If you need them to find them, it's just one of those things. Well, this has been enjoyable show. Again, fun. till her daddy took her T-Bird away. That was the Beach Boys, right? Uh, so we are working on jazzing with the ushers. Hopefully we'll have some headway this weekend so we can get that show to you as soon as possible. So for everyone here, the Glen Burnie Players, again, my name is Anthony Bynum. Until next time, bye-bye.